Have you ever noticed something strange? The harder you try to hold on to people, the faster they seem to pull away. The more you explain yourself, the less they listen. The more you chase their attention, their approval, and their understanding, the less valuable you appear in their eyes. Most people respond to this by trying even harder. They send longer messages. They give more chances. They sacrifice more of themselves, in the hope that one day they will finally be appreciated. But more often than not, the opposite happens. Their effort becomes expected. Their presence becomes ordinary. Their value becomes invisible. The Stoics understood this truth thousands of years ago. They knew that dependence creates weakness, while self-sufficiency creates strength. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers and emperors, reminded himself that his peace should never depend on the opinions or actions of other people. Think about that for a moment. If your happiness depends on someone choosing you, understanding you, or approving of you, then you have given them power over your emotions. You have handed them control over your peace of mind. And the moment another person controls your peace, you stop being free. This is why the Stoics practiced emotional independence. Not because they didn't care about people, but because they understood that true strength comes from within. They knew that a man who can stand alone is stronger than a man who constantly needs reassurance from the world around him. And this is where everything changes. The moment you stop chasing, stop begging, and stop proving your worth, people begin to notice your absence. The silence you leave behind speaks louder than all the words you ever said. Suddenly, the people who ignored you start wondering where you went. The people who took your presence for granted begin to realize what they lost. Because human beings often fail to appreciate what is always available. But the moment something disappears, its value becomes impossible to ignore. And that is the first Stoic lesson. Never chase respect. Become the kind of person whose absence creates it. There is a powerful truth that most people learn too late in life. People rarely respect what they can easily control. When someone knows that you will always be there no matter how they treat you, they often stop appreciating your presence. This does not mean you should become cold, heartless, or stop caring about others. Stoicism was never about becoming emotionless. It was about becoming disciplined enough to control your emotions instead of allowing other people to control them for you. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by people who wanted his attention, his decisions, and his approval. Yet he understood one important thing. Your worth does not increase because someone praises you, and your worth does not decrease because someone ignores you. Your value exists before anyone recognizes it. Many people spend years trying to convince others that they are worthy. They explain their intentions, defend their actions, and constantly seek approval. But the Stoics believe that a person with true confidence does not need to announce their value. Their actions, character, and discipline speak for them. Imagine a person who knows their own worth. They do not panic when someone walks away. They do not lose themselves trying to keep someone interested. They do not destroy their peace just to avoid being alone. Why? Because they understand that losing someone is painful, but losing yourself is far more damaging. The Stoic mindset teaches you to build a life where you are not desperate for anyone's attention. You become focused on improving yourself, developing wisdom, strengthening your character, and creating inner peace. And something interesting happens when you do this. People start seeing you differently. The person who once begged for attention becomes the person others want to understand. The person who once needed approval becomes the person others respect. The person who was afraid of being abandoned becomes the person who knows they will be okay, no matter who stays or leaves. Real power comes when you stop asking the world to prove your value. You already know it. That is the moment you become truly free. One of the hardest lessons in life is accepting that people often recognize your value only after they no longer have easy access to you. When you are always available, always answering, always helping, and always making an effort, people can begin to see your actions as normal. They stop noticing the sacrifices you make because they become used to receiving them. This is human nature. A person can stand next to a beautiful ocean every day and eventually stop noticing its beauty. A person can hear the same comforting voice every day and forget how rare that voice truly is. Familiarity can sometimes make people blind to what they have. The Stoics understood this weakness of human nature. They believed that your energy, your time, and your attention are valuable resources. They should not be given away carelessly to people who constantly take them for granted. This is why learning to step back is so important. Stepping back does not mean you hate someone. It does not mean you want revenge. It does not mean you are trying to manipulate their emotions. It simply means you have learned to respect yourself enough to stop forcing connections that are no longer healthy. A Stoic does not chase a person who has already chosen distance. A Stoic does not fight for a place where they are constantly ignored. A Stoic accepts reality and protects their inner peace. Sometimes your absence teaches a lesson that your words never could. When you stop filling every silence, people finally have space to think. They remember the conversations, the support, the patience, and the loyalty that you brought into their lives. They begin to understand that your presence was not something guaranteed. It was something valuable. But remember this important Stoic principle. You should never walk away just to make someone miss you. You walk away because your peace matters. Whether they notice or not is no longer your concern. The moment you stop needing someone to realize your worth is the moment you become powerful. Because true confidence is not saying, I hope they come back. True confidence is saying, I will be okay whether they do or not. That is the freedom the Stoics spent their lives developing. There comes a moment in life when you have to make a difficult decision. Continue fighting for someone who does not value you, or choose yourself and walk away. For many people, this is one of the hardest choices they will ever make. They hold on because they remember the good moments. They hold on because they hope things will change. They hold on because they are afraid of losing someone they have invested their time, energy, and emotions into. But the Stoics understood something very important. Holding on to something that destroys your peace is not loyalty. It is self-neglect. Epictetus taught that wisdom begins when we understand the difference between what we can control and what we cannot. You can control your actions. You can control your attitude. You can control the standards you set for yourself. But you cannot control whether someone respects you. You cannot force someone to appreciate your kindness. You cannot force someone to understand your heart. You cannot force someone to see your value if they have chosen to ignore it. And this is where many people lose themselves. They keep giving more, hoping that one day their effort will finally be enough. They keep proving their loyalty to people who have already decided not to recognize it. They keep lowering their standards because they fear being alone. But a person with a Stoic mindset understands that being alone is far better than being surrounded by people who constantly take away your peace. Walking away is not an act of anger. It is an act of self-respect. It means you are saying, I care about you, but I also care about myself. I cannot continue sacrificing my happiness just to maintain a connection that only one person is trying to save. The strongest people are not those who never experience pain. The strongest people are those who can feel pain and still choose what is right for them. They do not create drama. They do not seek revenge. They simply remove themselves from situations that no longer align with their values. Remember this Stoic lesson. You do not lose people who truly value you. You only lose people who are comfortable receiving your energy without respecting your presence. And sometimes walking away is not the end of a relationship. Sometimes it is the beginning of finding yourself again. One of the greatest challenges in life is learning to stop seeking approval from people who were never responsible for your happiness in the first place. From childhood, many people are trained to look outside themselves for validation. They learn to measure their worth by how others react to them. If people praise them, they feel valuable. If people criticize them, they feel broken. If someone chooses them, they feel important. If someone leaves, they question their own worth. But the Stoics saw this as a dangerous way to live. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, understood that a person who depends on the opinions of others will always be controlled by the outside world. Your mood will change every time someone changes their attitude toward you. Your confidence will rise and fall depending on whether people accept you or reject you. But true strength begins when you take back control. Imagine waking up every morning, knowing that your peace does not depend on anyone's message, anyone's attention, or anyone's approval. Imagine being able to appreciate people without needing them to complete you. That is the freedom Stoicism teaches. The Stoics did not say that relationships were meaningless. They understood the importance of friendship, love, and connection. But they also understood that no person should become the owner of your emotions. You can love someone and still maintain your dignity. You can care about someone and still protect your peace. You can appreciate someone and still walk away when their actions constantly disrespect your values. Many people make the mistake of confusing love with attachment. They believe that loving someone means accepting anything from them. They believe loyalty means staying no matter how much they suffer. But the Stoics would disagree. Real love requires wisdom. Real respect requires boundaries. And real strength requires knowing when to let go. The moment you stop trying to convince people of your worth, something changes inside you. You become calmer. You become more focused. You stop wasting energy trying to control things that were never yours to control. You begin investing that energy into yourself, your goals, your growth, your character. And that is when people start noticing a difference. Not because you changed to impress them, but because you finally stopped abandoning yourself for their approval. The Stoic understands one powerful truth. The person who needs nothing from others is the person who cannot be easily controlled by others. When you master yourself, you become free. There is a power that most people underestimate in life, the power of silence. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, the person who knows when to remain quiet has a rare kind of strength. Most people react immediately when they feel disrespected. They argue. They send emotional messages. They try to explain their pain again and again, hoping the other person will finally understand. But the Stoic chooses a different path. The Stoic understands that not every battle deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding needs an explanation. Because sometimes the more you explain yourself, the more power you give away. Think about it. When someone truly wants to understand you, they do not need 100 explanations. They will see your actions. They will notice your character. They will respect your intentions. But when someone has already decided to misunderstand you, no amount of words will change their mind. This is why silence becomes a form of wisdom. Silence is not always weakness. Sometimes silence is a sign that you have mastered yourself. It shows that you are no longer controlled by anger, frustration, or the need to prove your worth. Marcus Aurelius faced criticism, betrayal, and difficult people throughout his life. Yet he reminded himself that his response was always his choice. Other people's behavior belonged to them. His character belonged to him. This lesson is powerful even today. When someone tries to provoke you, they are often looking for a reaction. They want your emotions. They want your attention. They want to pull you into their chaos. But when you remain calm, you take away their power. Your peace becomes something they cannot touch. The strongest person in the room is not always the loudest person. Sometimes it is the person who can stay calm while everyone else is losing control. A person with a Stoic mindset does not need to win every argument. They do not need to convince everyone that they are right. They understand that time reveals truth better than arguments ever could. So the next time someone disrespects you, remember this. You do not have to answer every question. You do not have to defend every decision. You do not have to prove your value to people who refuse to see it. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Because silence is not emptiness. Silence is discipline. Silence is control. And silence is the language of a person who has mastered themselves. There is a moment when people finally begin to understand your value. And it usually happens when they no longer have unlimited access to you. For a long time, they may have become comfortable with your presence. They knew you would answer their calls. They knew you would forgive them. They knew you would always be there whenever they needed support. But comfort can sometimes create carelessness. When someone believes you will never leave, they may stop making an effort to keep you. They may stop appreciating the small things you do. They may forget the patience, loyalty, and kindness you brought into their life. Then one day, something changes. You stop chasing. You stop explaining. You stop trying to convince someone to see your worth. And suddenly, your silence creates a space they cannot ignore. They begin remembering the conversations you had. They remember the moments when you were there for them. They remember the support you gave when nobody else was around. Not because you wanted them to suffer, but because distance often reveals what closeness hides. The Stoics understood that people often learn through experience. Sometimes your words cannot teach a lesson. Sometimes your actions cannot teach a lesson. But your absence can reveal reality. However, the Stoic mindset is not about making people regret losing you. That is still depending on their reaction. The true Stoic does not walk away hoping someone will chase them. They walk away because they have accepted a deeper truth. Their peace is more important than someone else's temporary approval. If someone returns, you decide with wisdom. If someone does not return, you continue with strength. Either way, you remain in control of yourself. This is the difference between confidence and desperation. A desperate person says, "I hope they realize what they lost." A confident person says, "I know what I am worth, whether they realize it or not." Your value does not begin when someone finally recognizes it. Your value is always there. The right people will appreciate your presence. The wrong people will only understand it after your absence. But the greatest victory is not making someone miss you. The greatest victory is becoming so strong within yourself that you no longer need anyone to. That is true Stoic freedom. One of the greatest sources of human suffering is trying to control what was never ours to control. People spend years trying to control how others think about them. They try to control whether someone loves them, respects them, chooses them, or stays with them. They spend countless hours worrying about opinions that constantly change. But the Stoics discovered a powerful truth. You cannot control the world outside of you. You can only control yourself. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, taught that true freedom comes from understanding what belongs to us and what does not. Your thoughts belong to you. Your actions belong to you. Your attitude belongs to you. But another person's choices, emotions, and opinions do not belong to you. The moment you accept this, your life becomes lighter. Imagine how much energy people waste trying to convince someone to appreciate them. They explain their intentions again and again. They try to prove they are good enough. They chase people who have already decided to create distance. But the Stoic does not live this way. The Stoic understands that respect cannot be forced. Love cannot be demanded. Loyalty cannot be begged for. Anything that has to be constantly forced is already showing you its weakness. This does not mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop destroying yourself for things outside your control. You can give your best effort, but you cannot control the result. You can show kindness, but you cannot control whether someone values it. You can be honest, but you cannot control whether someone believes you. And once you understand this, you stop fighting unnecessary battles. You stop losing sleep over people who do not appreciate you. You stop carrying the weight of other people's decisions. You stop allowing someone else's behavior to decide your emotional state. This is where inner peace begins. The strongest people are not those who control everything around them. The strongest people are those who can remain calm even when life does not go according to their plans. They understand that storms will come, people will change, situations will end, but their character remains. So remember this Stoic lesson. Do not waste your life trying to control what belongs to others. Master what belongs to you. Your mind, your actions, your peace. Because when you control yourself, no person and no situation can take away your inner freedom. The strongest people are not the ones who never experience rejection, disappointment, or loss. The strongest people are the ones who can face these things without allowing them to destroy who they are. Life will test everyone. There will be moments when people leave without explanation. There will be moments when your efforts are ignored. There will be moments when someone you trusted shows you that they were never truly loyal. In these moments, many people lose themselves. They become angry. They seek revenge. They try to prove their worth to the very people who failed to appreciate it. But the Stoic chooses another path. The Stoic understands that your reaction reveals more about you than the situation itself. Anyone can be calm when life is easy. True strength appears when life becomes difficult and you still choose discipline over destruction. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, betrayal, illness, and personal struggles. Yet he continued to remind himself that he could not control what happened around him. He could only control the person he chose to become. That lesson is timeless. When someone walks away from your life, do not let their decision become your identity. Their inability to see your value does not reduce your value. A diamond does not become less valuable because someone does not recognize it. Your worth does not depend on someone else's awareness. This is why a Stoic focuses on self-improvement instead of chasing validation. While others are busy trying to impress people, the Stoic is busy building himself. He improves his mind. He strengthens his body. He develops discipline. He becomes wiser. He creates a life that does not depend on anyone else's approval. And this creates a different kind of confidence. Not the confidence that says, "I am better than everyone," but the confidence that says, "I know who I am, and I do not need to prove it." People are naturally drawn to those who are comfortable with themselves. A person who is desperate for attention pushes others away. A person who is secure within themselves creates respect. This is why walking away can be so powerful. Not because you are trying to punish someone, not because you want them to regret their choices, but because you have finally chosen yourself. Remember, never chase someone who makes you question your worth. Never beg for a place where you are not respected. Keep growing. Keep improving. Keep moving forward. Because the greatest revenge is not making someone regret losing you. The greatest victory is becoming someone who no longer needs their recognition. At the end of every difficult experience, there is one final Stoic lesson that remains. Your greatest responsibility in life is not to be accepted by everyone. Your greatest responsibility is to remain true to yourself. Many people spend their entire lives trying to be chosen. They chase friendships, relationships, and approval from people who make them feel like they are never enough. They forget that the most important relationship they will ever have is the relationship with themselves. The Stoics understood that a person who has inner peace possesses something far more valuable than popularity. Because popularity can disappear, people can change, situations can change, but the character you build inside yourself stays with you forever. The moment you stop begging for attention, you discover your own strength. The moment you stop chasing people who constantly walk away, you discover your own value. The moment you stop needing everyone to understand you, you discover freedom. This is what the Stoics practiced. They did not waste their lives trying to control people's opinions. They focused on controlling their own thoughts, their own actions, and their own choices. They understood that a peaceful mind is more powerful than a crowded room. So if someone leaves your life, let them go with dignity. If someone does not recognize your value, do not spend your life trying to convince them. If someone chooses to walk away, do not chase them into a place where you are no longer respected. Sometimes losing people is not a punishment. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes life removes certain people because they are preventing you from becoming the person you were meant to become. The Stoic does not hold anger in their heart. They do not wish harm on others. They simply accept reality and continue moving forward. Because the strongest person is not the one who can make everyone stay. The strongest person is the one who can remain peaceful when someone chooses to leave. Remember this final Stoic principle. Never abandon yourself just to keep someone else. Your peace is valuable. Your time is valuable. Your life is valuable. Walk with confidence. Speak with purpose. Live with discipline. And when you know your own worth, you will never again beg someone else to recognize it. Because the person who masters himself is already powerful, and the person who protects his peace is already free.